Welcome back. Ich habe euch gesagt, ich bin hier, wenn die Zeit gekommen ist, zurückzukommen. Ich hoffe, der Film hat euch gefallen. Ich hoffe, er hat euch inspiriert, euch berührt und euch zum Nachdenken gebracht. Jetzt haben wir auch schon großartigerweise, und es ist wirklich eine Riesenehre, diese zwei Menschen hier zu haben heute. Lisa, hello, thank you for coming today to our Ake Dikhea. Lindy, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor, it's a pleasure, it's wonderful to have you here. I don't take this as something lightly. It's really a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Okay, I will start with Lisa. So first thing that we do is we're going to have an interview with our artists and filmmakers. I start with Lisa. So I will do a little bit German and then I'll switch to English, so the Germans don't feel cut out of the whole thing if they do not speak English. Also liebe Deutsche, ich spreche natürlich auch in Deutsch, aber werde das auch in Englisch übersetzen. Also Lisa arbeitet als Journalistin für die Traveller Times, ein Roma Traveller Medium in Großbritannien. So Lisa here, she's working for as a journalist for the Travellers Times, a Roma Traveller Medium in the UK. She supports young Romas and travellers with the journalist activations and activisms and being active writing and making transparent everything that she has to say. Her most important project was last year. It's Kushti to Raqqa, which means it's good to talk. As well, she did a video series, empowerment video series with young Romani in the UK who are struggling with anti-Gypsyism. What kind of effects does that have on young people, especially? So I have a few questions, Lisa. I hope I said everything right till now.
You did perfect, perfect.
Okay, Lisa, the film looks so beautiful and it gives us such a powerful feeling. You are aware of that, right?
Thank you.
I really love it, and I think it's great to let people know that the Traveller Pride exists. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people have, and we're talking about those frames, those very old frames of a very simplified and not really diverse identity of Romani people. So my question is, can you tell us more about the Pride and how it's related to your work?
Thank you. So Traveller Pride was created by us at Travellers Times because we really wanted to highlight the intersectionality and the diversity that exists amongst Romani and Traveller communities living in the UK, not only to wider society, but internally to other members within our community. But it wasn't just that. We wanted to really highlight this really historic event that took place, because the clips that you see from Traveller Pride are all real, and it happened last year. It was the first time ever that Romani and Traveller people had a presence, an official presence, in the London Pride Parade. And we thought this was a special moment that needed to be documented, celebrated, and needed to be more widely known. But the purpose of making a film with it as well was for it to be there for other people who unfortunately weren't able to be more visible or outspoken about their identity or sexuality to attend the Pride Parade. But we also made it during Corona, because the organisation behind, actually there's an organisation in England called Traveller Pride, and the film was actually named after them, and they're doing some groundbreaking work at the moment, and the only and the first organisation that exists to support LGBTQI Romani and Travellers, and they're doing some fantastic work. They're currently offering a counselling service, but it's all really about empowerment and highlighting this, you know, intersectionality of identities and saying, look, we're here, we're proud, and this is also a, I suppose, oppressed community within an already oppressed and marginalised community. So we needed to really amplify their voices and their perspectives, and that was really the fundamental reason behind us showcasing that.
Thank you for that one. That was really very deep, and it's very important to highlight all of those points. My question is also, we were talking a little bit before when we were talking in the preparation. You were telling, and I think not a lot of people are having this consciously activated in their brains. What does it mean as a young Romani to struggle with anti-gypsyism? What does it mean for your identity as a young person? What kind of effects does that have?
This was the question that we really wanted to ask in a project that we ran last year. It's called It's Christy to Rocker. And you mentioned that in English Romanesque, this means it's good to talk. And this project was really focused on highlighting the impact of anti-gypsyism on young people's mental health, their well-being, their self-esteem and their self-worth. And it ranged from a short film that looked at the lack of inclusion of Romani and traveller history and culture and language in the curriculum and the impact that has on young people, but then the impact that has on perpetuating negative stereotypes as well in society. And that ranged to films about bereavement and grief and the lack, or I suppose the anti-gypsyism that exists within the healthcare system in England and how that hampers people getting the right support that they need. And it was really focused around mental health, and the situation in England, and I suppose across Europe, is very stark for Romani people. You know, particularly in England, Romani people's life expectancy is 12 to 15 years lower than the general population, even when compared to other socially excluded groups. And you're like 7 times more likely to die by suicide. So we were saying, really, what is the reason for this? Because it was being viewed in this one single narrative. And this narrative was, it's the problem within the community and this is why they have these issues. But I really felt we needed to take this and look at it from a different narrative through the eyes of these young people, and these stories were created by them. The stories, the scripts were from their real life lived experiences, because we felt strongly we had to just move away from this one singular narrative that exists about what it means to be Romani. And the only way that we can move away from this singular narrative, I believe, is by people allowing space for not just young people from Romani and Traveller backgrounds, for all people to be able to tell the stories for themselves and be at the forefront of defining the narrative about what it means to be Romani.
Thank you so much. Wow, this is really so on point, right, Lindy?
Sure.
It's really on point because, of course, we have the situation that all of this hate and devaluing is, of course, intersectional. So it goes in a lot of parts of your life as a Romani person, a young person, older person, and how would you say is our young Romani people coping with, on one part, of course, the devaluing from European society, having no safety in your identity and in your life. I mean, come on now, we have to say this clearly. They are still oppressed in most of the parts of Europe. It's not like they enjoy human rights, you know what I mean? So how does it... or how important is this for the culture and tradition? How can they combine those parts of what they got from their tradition and culture, and how do they kind of develop who they are, who they really are in this intersectional, in this culture and tradition?
Wow, that's a big question. I feel one of the biggest problems that maybe I struggled with myself, but I feel like a lot of Romani people maybe go through at some point in their life, is this feeling of self-worth, or am I good enough in a society that that's a society that portrays me in a really negative way. And I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of fear and a lot of shame being associated with Romani, with being Romani. But I think through film and through empowerment, for people knowing their history, knowing their roots, I think really that is the cornerstone of empowerment, you know? The fact that Romani history is not on the school curriculum, young people aren't learning that, how it's perpetuating stereotypes in wider society, I think. But I really do believe in filmmaking and how it's such a powerful tool to not only educate wider society, but empower our own young people. And I think that is so, so important. because young people need to see positive role models and people to aspire to. And Lindy, I very much loved your documentary because that is 100% what young LGBT people need to see, because the narrative out there is just so negative, so to have something that's real, that's authentic from lived experience is so powerful, and there needs to be more of that.
Hey, thank you so much, Lisa. Great. Your answers are really wonderful because she's so on point. It's unbelievable. My last question would be, which role do all of this, or what kind of inspiration, what kind of drive did you took from that as a filmmaker? As far as I understood, you say, like, it's enough. I want to change the narrative. And I do it with making films. Is that correct in that sense? So to have it transparent for all the young people that you do work with, that you have a relationship to, because relationship is what we are. So was the filmmaking before your process in all of this, or did you say, like, fuck that, I don't know how to work filmmaking, but I'm gonna do it because this is important for me to do?
Yeah, definitely. I think filmmaking came after, because we were doing activism, or we were going to conferences and speaking, or trying to raise issues with politicians, because the level of hate speech coming out of England at the moment is particularly bad. There's a piece of legislation that's set to come out sometime this autumn, which will criminalise nomadic way of life and have a massive consequence for Romani people and their way of life living in the UK. But for me, I think the filmmaking became after, because I found that when I was just telling people and trying to highlight the issues through some type of form of activism, you're falling on deaf ears. And then I found the power of film. You can create something and you can show them, and people can feel like they come to their own conclusions, and I think that's the most powerful thing about film. It's a very powerful medium to be able to give people the information, and then they decide in themselves what they do with that.
Because, of course, in film, and I think this is such important to tell people, that you can, especially in Germany, it's also a thing to say, like, oh, you have to study this and you have to know this. No, we're in times where you can try, and even if you don't know shit, you can do it because it's doable. You know what I mean? And I think the most important thing of filmmaking, and this is why I switched to Lindy in a minute, is, of course, you are the one whose interpretation, who interprets what is happening in your life. It's not that somebody is doing it over your head, interpreting kind of narratives and stories and frames about you. And I think I completely agree with you. It's so powerful. This is the way I started. Of course, I feel so near to your story because as a Turkish person, I grew up in this country being devalued all the time until I found out there's YouTube. And, I could take a handy, fuck it. You know what I mean? I don't need no Quentin Tarantino for this. Could really scream at the faces of Germany, telling them, fuck you, I will claim my worth, not you. And I think this is so powerful. Lindy, we're coming to you. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Lisa, wow.
Wow, please, yes.
Lisa.
It's great to have you here. Wow. Lindy, I will tell people a little bit what they wrote down here. Yeah. Lindy is actively speaking Romani now. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
And you write in a theater play about the oppression of Roma people in Sweden. That's correct, right?
Totally
also, correct. For somebody who didn't give his identity free and transparent because of all the things that happen to you then when you do it. And I think this is some point that Germans really don't understand because, and even me as a migrant of Turkish descent, this was hard for me to understand because of course our identity is kind of clear.
Yeah.
And although we get beaten up by it, by saying, but we can still say it.
Yeah.
And this is something I experienced. Not a lot of Romani people can do that because the the oppression, the devaluing, the pushing away is so deep. I have experienced this one time, and I understood from that point on, okay, this is something to give your identity to the world, and to show it and to say it is really revolution.
Yeah.
It's revolutionary. This
Yeah.
is not something little thing. They tell me here you really developed to a kind of activist through that
Yes.
process.
Yeah.
And I think in the movie, this is really highlighted. You live in Sweden and Berlin, and you still work in the Maxim Gorki Theater, and
Yeah.
you create new plays. And congratulations,
Yeah.
you and your husband, you have married.
I just got married. Yes.
He's
I
now
put 2
honorable,
months.
yeah?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, you
It's
have to cook
amazing.
and clean
I
now.
can recommend
That's what
it.
it is.
I can recommend it. I can recommend him actually.
Is it? Is marriage
It's
a good thing?
lovely to get
Yeah.
married. Yeah. I love it.
Okay, and just a little bit, I need somebody to marry. If is there anybody without fear in his soul, please come to me. Lindy.
Yeah.
The film comes really, really near to you.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so fucking special. You really showed your process, and you gave a very deep view into something that's very, very painful.
Yeah.
Everybody who's been through that knows how painful this is. What does the film mean for you, and how was it to work on it?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. It all started like this. I was doing this musical cabaret at Malmö Stadstheater, Malmö City Theater. You know, the Konferencier will come, and you know that one. And Persson, Lännerberg, the director of the movie, she wanted to do an interview with me for a newspaper. And I said yes to that. And in this interview, I talked about being a Romani traveller, being gay, living in a small, coming from a small village in Sweden, the feeling of being different. And we really connected, Ida and me. And so she contacted me. She sent me a text message that was like, Lindy, I want to do a documentary film about you. Are you up for it? And it took me 9 months to answer her. And I was like, I have to say no. But I said yes because I have a problem saying no. And I thought we are going to film for 3-4 times and then we're going to drop it. But actually, it ended up that she followed me around for like 4 years. So that's why.
Wow.
But I can tell you, it was a bumpy ride. Oh my God. Because it was like the main problems we had in the movie was with my family in a way, if they wanted to be open or not about, it was the integrity of my family. Because it's no problem for me being open about being Romani traveller or being gay. I live in a big city. I live in Stockholm, and I live in Berlin, and I'm an actor. Nobody cares if I'm Romani or not. But my family lives in small villages in Sweden that have problem with anti-Ziganism, So everybody was like, we have to protect our children because every single person in my family has been pointed out to being bullied for being Romani. And also we touched some sensitive topics in the movie, like of course the poverty in my family. I grew up, my family was very, very poor, and that was hard to talk about. And also, of course, of the forced sterilizations that happened to people in my family, the history of my family. And so that was also very, very delicate to talk about. But the thing with the movie that amazed me when it came out, because it came out last year and it went up to the cinemas in Sweden and then moved on to the national TV, and then it was like on several film festivals in Europe, and Ida Persson, Lännerberg, the director, got some awards for it. It was amazing for her and blah, blah, blah. But the biggest thing for me was that my family was very proud over the documentary. They were very, very proud. Wow. And also that other Romani travelers contacted me and started to talk after the movie and said, oh God, the importance of us to be visible, the importance of coming out, the importance of to protect our language, to use our language, to get recognition for our history. And that was so interesting because one thing I thought was, that struck me was that we all have the same experience in a way, the Romani Travellers. We have this duality and complexity in the identity of being Romani Travellers. Yeah, we are like the complexity. Yeah, we are like very, very proud of being Romani Travellers. You know, in the family and in our homes and in our community, but we don't talk about it outside. Because, yeah.
And of course, I mean, to be honest, this is, of course, the shame factor.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I mean, when I get like treated wrong, and the funny thing is, and this is really funny, I feel shame.
Yeah.
Although I know that they doing it. And I'm not the one who should feel shame. You know what I mean? But
this
it's
shame
a very important thing.
Because it was so much easier for me to come out as gay than it was for me to come out as a Romani
Just
traveller.
imagine. Just imagine.
Because me coming out as gay doesn't affect a lot of people. Me coming out as a Romani traveller means that I also out a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that was, and it was, but fine. But it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to be out, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's, I think what for me is also a really a present is to understand that when I go out with all of my pain and when I show that and when I be honest and authentic about it and when I do give in the risk.
Yeah.
Something really amazing happens, and I think this is part of the healing for your family as well. So it wasn't really the goal, but you did heal a part of your family.
Yeah.
And if you heal it in the back, and you in the past, and you heal it to the future. So this is not a little thing. This is a big thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we have something for you. We have a little surprise for you. The
You
director of the
that's
film,
perfect.
Persson, do I say this
that's
Swedish
okay.
thing?
Ida Persson Lännerberg.
Ikea, okay? Ida Persson Lännerberg.
Exactly.
Sent us a little video today about what the film means to her. So we can watch it now.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Ida, the director of Lindy, The Return of Little Light. I hope you enjoyed the film. I'm so happy that you showed the film at your festival, a festival of Romani film, and in Berlin, where some of the most important scenes in the film takes place. The first time I met Lindy was almost 7 years ago. I was very affected by him and his story. Even though Romani Travellers have got this very dark history in Sweden with sterilizations and mental institutions, I think a lot of people in Sweden know nothing about Romani Travellers and what it's like to be a Romani Traveller in Sweden today. So that's one reason I think this film is so important. I'm happy and I'm proud that Lindy let me tell his story. I think he's so naked and so honest in the film, and I know that it wasn't easy for him to tell this story.
Wow. And she supported it, and she was on your case. Yeah. And of course, sometimes it's like if somebody's not giving up on you, it's hard to give up on yourself. So, Lindy, in the film, we could see how hard it was. Like, what was her name? Ida? Ida said it already. Yeah. We talked about the doubts during the rehearsal, how your family react to it. Yeah. And now when you see and look back, what would you say is the most important thing that changed for you?
I think the most important thing is that we started to connect with each other, the Romani Travellers. And also, because I was talking to my mother like for a month ago, and I said, oh my God, our language is dying, it's so sad. And she said, no, Lindy, you're wrong. Our language is more alive than ever. And I said, where? And she said, Facebook. Facebook's gonna save us. We started to connect to each other. And we write to each other in Romani, and that's so important for us. So, but I think also like when first time my mother saw the movie, I was so scared. I was so scared. I was shaking because she saw it, and then afterwards she was like, I liked it. So it was, but it was. Yeah, I was so scared, but that meant a lot to me, and also to my sisters and my and brothers, and also to the the children of my, yeah, exactly, and also they are talking Romani, and it's this connection I feel now. So it was amazing to do the movie in a way, actually.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
because I feel so many parts of it, as you, Lisa, as well, do feel so many parts of it when the first time when you understand I can take my worth,
Yeah.
and I am the one who's telling you how much it is,
Yeah.
not you are the one, and you get support from it. I had the same experience when I came out with my work. It was kind of the same thing. All of a sudden we understood, oh, well, this didn't just happen to me, it happened to all of us.
Yeah.
And before it was just, nobody was talking about it.
Yeah.
So nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
So the connection grew stronger. And the funny thing is, why I'm sitting here today is because of this connection. Because if I can do this connection to me, I can do it to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I understand this pain within me, I can understand your pain. And so we can connect and do what we are, what every cell in our body is. We are sharing our information, and we connect. We have in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because
the power
I think
of coming out,
exactly,
Yeah.
the power of relationship as human beings to each other. So again, I have to say thank you so much. My last question would be, what are you currently working on? Lisa, what are you currently working on? Let's start with Lindy.
Well, now I just moved down to Berlin, and so now I'm going to do work at Maxim Gorki Theater for a couple of years, I hope. Yeah, and then I also do. I'm writing a play right now, because the documentary is very, very personal. But now I want to move on from that, and because a lot of people think that Sweden is this democratic dreamland, and which we are in a way. But we Romani Travellers and the Roma people have experienced the Swedish darkness in a way, and I want to put some light on that. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Perfect, because the Sweden people always like light and happy. And,
yeah. Well,
very much
scratch a little.
Let's scratch
a little, and you
scratch.
see. It's
they
time
eat
to scratch.
Some funny fish. Is that true? They eat this dead fish.
Yeah.
Dead for like years.
Oh my God! Yes. It's
so
rotten.
nasty.
It's rotten. Yeah.
It's rotten fish.
Yeah.
Some of this.
Welcome to Sweden. Yeah.
Oh, Lisa. Yeah. What are you currently working on?
So for the next 6 months, I'm going to be based in Berlin.
Yes.
Working with Roma Child, which I'm very pleased to be here. But then behind the scenes, I'm working on a documentary at the minute, just at development stage, mapping the traditional and ancient stopping places of Romani people in England and Wales. Really my family's heritage and history, to try and maintain that and preserve it before the next generation, the generation before me dies. So that's what I'm doing behind the scenes in light of the new, the government legislation coming down to crack down on criminalisation. We're hoping to make this to try and create a case for the significance and the importance of this cultural way of life. So I hope to get that off the ground at some point.
Well, I hope so. To both of you, that your work is taken off, But somehow it's the funny thing. We wouldn't be all here if it didn't already change something, and if it didn't make already an impact. So I'm so proud to have you here. Yeah. So I would say thank you so much for doing your work. I hope you will have the most success with it. I will be a part of, if I can do anything for you, please let me know. You know what I mean? Like, I want to support.
Yeah.
And I will call you as the mafia do, and can you support me?
Right,
you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
no, it's fun. For real. I love to see you prosper and see you wealthy, happy, and healthy for all of your life for the next times to come. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the interview and for your films and movies and for your work in the coming years.
Thank you.
Tack så mycket.
Amazing, you were on point, you were slaying. Really?
Wow.
She was like, I didn't even have to do anything, you know what I mean? She's like, but you were great too. You were so, So, also, ihr habt gesehen, unser erster Tag ist wirklich super gut gelaufen. Vielen, vielen Dank. Thank you so much for everybody who was taking part in this. For Lisa and Lindy, who are doing such a great work. Ja, genau. Und das war's jetzt auch von uns, von mir. Das war's. Das ist vorbei jetzt, ja. Aber es ist nicht mit dem Festival vorbei. Das Festival fängt gerade erst an. Und ich erinnere euch nochmal daran, holt euch einen Festivalpass, holt auch noch einfach so. Warum nein? Weißt du, was ich meine? Und es wird uns gut tun, es wird uns allen gut tun. Ihr habt jetzt 5 volle Tage mit Gesprächen, mit Filmen und noch mit sehr vielen anderen Programmpunkten. Und das Coole ist, all die Filme und Diskussionen sind ab ihrer Premiere bis zum Ende des Festivals am 23. November online. Ihr könnt sie also auch später gucken. Guckt sie euch auf jeden Fall an. Ich will noch eine Empfehlung aussprechen für die nächsten Tage, nur zur Orientierung, damit ihr auch wisst, wonach ihr auch noch Ausschau halten könnt. Wir haben zum Beispiel noch die Podiumsdiskussion Intersektionalität im Film und TV am Sonntag um 18 Uhr. Mit ganz wunderbaren Menschen wie Şeyda Kurt, die das auch moderieren wird. Also es ist eine große Ehre, ganz fantastische Frau. Und da werdet ihr wirklich viel, viel mitnehmen von. Wir haben außerdem den Dokumentarfilm Leti am Freitag um 20 Uhr. Eine ganz krasse Geschichte aus Tschechien. Da haben sie eine Schweinemastanlage am Ort eines Roma-KZs gebaut. Also ich krieg schon Gänsehaut, ich krieg jetzt schon Hals. Alleine, dass ich das aussprechen muss, kotzt mich an, Alter. Und in diesem Film geht es um den jahrzehntelangen Kampf und um die Schließung dieser Schweinemast, damit die Toten und die Überlebenden endlich etwas Würde zurückbekommen. Ich erinnere an Artikel 1 Grundgesetz, die Würde des Menschen ist unantastbar. Aber weißt du, wenn sie für meine Brüder und Schwestern nicht gelten, ist sie ein Scheißdreck wert. Okay? Ja. Auch haben wir noch den Kurzfilm Letter of Forgiveness. Da geht es um die Sklaverei von Roma in Rumänien. Da waren sie 500 Jahre lang Sklaven. Und das richtig Gute ist, dass es jetzt Roma-Frauen gibt wie Alina Scherban. Şükür Allah'ım Scherban war. Sie hat dieses Jahr den Deutschen Schauspielpreis bekommen. Diese Frauen machen jetzt Filme darüber, was deren Vorfahren durchlebt haben. Auch Lindy hat es kurz angesprochen. Wir sprechen hier von Zwangssterilisationen und Dingen, die einfach absolut unfassbar sind und aufgearbeitet werden müssen. Ich gehe so weit und möchte Reparationsfonds als Forderung. Aber das ist ein anderes Thema, das machen wir dann das nächste Mal. Ich bleib da dran. Und es wird noch unfassbar viele andere Geschichten geben, ehrliche Geschichten, authentische Geschichten, Geschichten, die die Realität erzählen, aus der Perspektive von denen, denen es widerfahren ist und nicht aus der Perspektive von denen, die es gemacht haben. Das ist, denke ich mal, ein Teil der Geschichte, der unfassbar wichtig und wertvoll ist für alle von uns. Es gibt wahnsinnig viele KünstlerInnen und Menschenrechtsaktivistinnen und das ist wirklich, wirklich, wirklich Gold, gehaltvoll, unterhaltsam und natürlich auch bildend und aufklärend. Ihr müsst euch das selbst angucken. Nochmal gebe ich euch die Adresse www.romafilmfestival.com. Nochmal in Englisch www.roma-filmfestival.com. Nochmal in Deutsch www.roma-filmfestival.com. Nochmal in Türkisch www.roma minus habe ich vergessen. Filmfestival.com. Ich bin Idil Beider, das war's von mir. Ich kann nur sagen, Ake Dikhea. Dankeschön.